I'm gonna to sign her.
Thank you.
Shows me that she is capable of growth, capable of change.
12 seconds later.
If him don't come right back to Colombia, I don't sign the prenup.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We're here to discuss Love in Paradise. They kind of tried to tie everything up with a nice little bow, but it was bad. Bad in the sense that these people were holding on for dear life. And the ones that have chosen to stay together, I'm not too confident about their future. Before we get into it, of course, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you see me fanning myself, it's because it is hot as balls, okay? I don't want to look like a honey bun on your screen, but it's hot. Anyway, let's start with Kyle and Annie, okay? So, first of all, the opening shot is of crusty Kyle sniffing his sock. And my thing is, if you have doubts on whether or not something is clean or it's questionable, throw it in the hamper. That's your answer. If you have to think about it too hard, it's a no. And he only made things worse because he was like, well, I only wore it a few times, so it's still good, and then proceeds to put on the sock. I put all of my clothes in the hamper the minute I use it. I think the only acceptable answer is if you wear something twice. Wearing it a few days, socks at that, where everyone's feet sweat and he's walking around everywhere, and you're telling me he's gonna rewear socks for like a week? And I'm also watching this and I'm just thinking about his lack of hygiene, because if he thinks it's acceptable to wear socks after a few days, I'm just like, who knows how many times he actually showers himself? And I'm just like, this is the man that people want to accept personal donations from? Ooh. Anyway, so yeah, they start their segment like that and I already feel queasy, okay? But it's his final day and he wants to see Annie one last time. You know, he wants to leave on better terms because, as you know, she ended things with him because he wouldn't stop donating, and she's like, I can't build my life on that. We see Annie and she says that she's a bit disappointed because, you know, she felt like they had so much promise and it's going to waste. But at the same time, she's relieved because she's no longer in this limbo of like whether or not we're going to commit and start our life together. So they arrive to this like cafe thing, and I'm just like, you guys are rehashing everything that you did in your breakup, so this meeting is already a waste. She's telling him that she feels like he didn't really try, and he feels like he did try, and that they have other problems like her situation with her ex. The way he referred to it was issues. He's like, the problem here is that I don't want to change certain things about my life and you have your issues. And Annie was like, what issues? And this man decides that this is the opportunity. Mind you, he said he wanted to have this conversation to be cordial, but he's doing everything to make this uncomfortable, because then he proceeds to say, well, you know, I have something that I want to say. When you were taking the ovulation test, I know for a fact that you weren't ovulating when we were intimate, but you were when you were intimate with him. So if you were hypothetically pregnant, it would have been his, and you were trying to pin it on me. And Annie's like, excuse me? First of all, this fantasy that he has constructed is twisted. Second, Annie was not trying to have a baby. She was trying to abort the mission, if you know what I mean. So him being like, it wouldn't have been mine if you were. She's like, I'm not trying to give you a baby. So I don't know why you're like tooting your horn. Like, what do you think this is? And the whole time he had that stupid grin on his face. So yeah, it's just wild. Like, he's really trying to shame her and also rewrite their history. Another thing that he mentioned in the conversation was that she didn't consider his feelings, that she cheated on him. And she was like, in order for me to cheat on you, we would have had to been committed, and you wouldn't commit to me. So no, me being intimate with someone else isn't cheating on you. And he's like, you didn't consider my feelings. I was really hurt by it. And I was just like, You weren't considered. It's almost like she's been telling you all season that you haven't been considering her feelings. You want to be in this relationship, but you also want your cake and eat it too. You want to dip your little peen in everyone else. So, like, he's so self-absorbed that he can't grasp the irony, okay? So Annie is disrespected. She's like, you have some nerve to speak to me like that, and she walks off. And he is shocked. I'm just like, on what world did you think that you shaming her and basically blaming her for the demise of whatever this is, how did you think that that would go well? How? He's like, I didn't imagine it ending this way. Once again, another man on this franchise, not comfortable with guilt, not comfortable with being the person in the wrong and deflecting. Just another one, just another day in the office for 90 days, okay? Sometimes I feel like he's trolling us because he's just so tone deaf, okay? So after he's, doing this performance of a man that is hurt by Annie, we see him chugging along to the cab, and he's like, the bright side of this is that I get to leave early, and that means that I can make another appointment to impregnate someone. Crusty, that man, crusty, okay? And we see Annie back at home, and she's with her kid, and she's talking about how she's so happy that she never got to introduce him to Kyle. And I'm like, girl, yes. That is the best decision you have made. And she ends it by saying that she's looking forward to being with someone boring and normal. And I'm like, wow, that is quite a different tune from the tune that she sang in the beginning. And I call that growth, okay? Let's move on to the next couple. It is Shawn and Alliya. So it's Shawn's final day in Brazil, and the best way that they could think of spending it is going to a plastic surgeon's office because Alliya wants to have her consultation to get herself some feminization and a BBL, which I'm not surprised. I feel like it's very common in South America. Honestly, I don't think Alliya needs any of that. I think she has such a perfect muscular toned physique. She's been talking about it for a while that she wants that. So they're there, and she's so giddy. It's so cute. So Shawn is on the fence, and he isn't being subtle about it, because as Alliya is telling him what she's looking for, he's like, I feel like you're going to get rid of one thing and then you're going to find another thing to get. And sure, I get that, but these are things that she has been wanting for a long time. It's not like she's done a bunch of surgeries before and she's redoing them. This is the first time where she gets to mold herself into who she wants to be. Also, she's not denying that she wants several. She's just voicing it to her partner. And it's obvious that you're not able to get all those surgeries in one day, It also amazes me all the things that you can get surgery on. I think Alliya is perfect in every way physically, but she was talking about wanting to get her brow bone, I guess to make it softer. And I thought that was crazy because I think she has the perfect eyes and eyebrow structure. And I'm like, what? But it's what makes her happy, and she clearly sees herself in a different way. The whole time, Shawn is just like that. And so the truth of the matter is that Shawn has been struggling this whole trip. Not only is he struggling with Alliya being a woman full time, but he's also struggling with the idea of her morphing into more feminine, or the surgery going bad and him not being attracted to her at all. You guys can tell me what you think in the comments, but right now I get the feeling that Shawn is tolerating Alliya. I don't feel that passion, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I just don't get that vibe from him. And I also feel like he's a bit patronizing when she speaks. I understand that this is going to be hard for him, and it's perfectly fine if he decides that this doesn't align with what he wants. I'm not for him raining on her parade, So I just wish that he would remove himself from the process and let her just live her life. There's so much that she has to experience, and he seems kind of like a cloud right now, but I'm wondering if he's the one that's paying for all this, because in that case, he's a cloud with a wallet. So they're in the doctor's office and she's explaining all the things that she wants. And the doctor was super enthusiastic about the lipo, the moving the fat around, all of that. Until she got to the brow structure thing, he was like, shaving the bone, that's very serious. That's very risky. He's like, I think the safer option is like Botox or like a filler. And I was like, I like that doctor. I would trust that doctor because he's not money hungry. I'm glad that he was like, that's very delicate surgery and like, it's unnecessary. And Alliya, you can tell, was like a little bit like the wind got knocked out of her a little bit, but she was obviously in the right hands, you know? They're in front of the mirror and she's like telling the doctor where she wants things done. And you could tell that she just wants to look the way that she feels on the inside. She wants it to make sense, you know? And you know, Shawn is next to her and he's like smiling and nodding. It's a smile that looks empty, like he's like deep in his own head, you know? And he's realizing more and more that this surgery that Alliya is planning to get is taking her further and further away from the person that he fell in love with. And that scares him on how it will affect their relationship. Particularly, he mentioned a gender reassignment surgery, it would affect their schmeck's life. And this is a hard one, you guys, because in many ways, right, like in this moment, he's not saying those things in this doctor's office. He's just like being there to support, but he's having all these thoughts. And I don't know if I were Alliya, if I would want to know everything or if I would want to be in the dark and feel that disconnect, because they haven't been intimate that whole time he's been there. Like that would have my wheels turning, you know? So while I don't want Shawn to feel trapped in a relationship just because they've been together, I also don't think it's fair to like impose on Alliya and have her feel trapped again and have like gender dysphoria, you know what I mean? So if they can work it out, great. But if they can set each other free and find happiness without forcing it upon each other, even better. I would hate to be with someone that is unhappy with me or unattracted to me. You know what I mean? Like that, I don't think it's more than ego. I really think that would mess me up mentally. So yeah, if he's gonna be like side-eyeing her and resenting her because she's morphing into who she wants to be, he needs to bow out. And so we do see them packing up, I guess, to leave the Airbnb, and because he's going back home. And, you know, they're being cutesy, and he reveals that they were intimate that night. I don't know if it was the night before or that day, but they were intimate. And again, they hadn't been intimate this whole time. So after not seeing each other for like 8 months and then being together for a few weeks, they only were intimate once. And so Shawn says that it was good, but that it was different because they are different people. And I wish he would have expanded a little bit more on that, but they look happy as they could be. And Alliya tells us that she's really anxious because now that he's leaving, they're going to start the K1 visa process. And as we know, that process is unpredictable. We don't know when she's going to get approved, if she's going to get approved, when he's going to be able to visit again. And she has in the back of her head, like, the longer I'm away, the longer he's going to be taking advantage of this open relationship that's very one-sided. So she's like, I need to be with my man full time. Also, she's very afraid that he's going to fall in love with someone. And I'm looking at that ex that he's freaky with and won't let go of, you know? I would have that fear if I were Alliya too, because Shawn really has not let go of Douglas. We see him looking at that book that Alliya had made for them, and he's just looking at the pictures and caressing the pages. He opens it in the apartment, but he also opens it in the car ride to the airport. So I'm like, this man wants another man. He doesn't want Alliya. I feel like Shawn has the potential to go back home and find himself a man that he wants to be with forever. Even though he's saying that, you know, he wants to put in work with Alliya because this is someone that has made him believe in love and like they have all this time invested and he's open to exploring what life could be like with her. he's still like holding on to that book and like looking at the pictures longingly in a way that I'm just like, he hasn't let go, and I don't think he plans on letting go of that idea. They ended together, but I don't foresee that they'll stay together. And if they do, I feel like Shawn is gonna pull a move where he's like, I want to keep it open because I want to continue being with men. That's my theory. Yeah, this is one of those things that I'm like, aside from the visa, you should have never proposed. I get why you would propose when you're doing the K1, but it's like, y'all have so much to work through. So we'll see what happens with them. Let's move on to the next couple, Madeleine and Luke. So these two have reached the final day of their vacation, and Luke is saying that he's exhausted from dealing with, you know, the aftermath of the rumors, and Madeleine looks just as exhausted. And so he says that, you know, money is tough right now, so he's gonna have to go back home to work, but that he'll be back for her. And she's on the fence about that. She's like, I don't know if he's gonna come back. And the rumors don't help the situation, you know? But he jokes that he's like, listen, I'll learn how to do nails so that I can work in our business that we have here. Like, I'm coming back. And he's crying and he's telling her how much he loves her, you know? But he also shares, I would really appreciate if you signed the prenup. It would make me feel safe. And I promise that I'll take care of you. And you guys know that Madeleine was not for the prenup. But she was like, listen, this is not the hill to die on. I've already stirred things up with these rumors back to back. Fine, I'll agree. And she does. And he's jumping of joy. And she agrees in person. But then in the confessional is like, well, you know, I did that because of everything that happened, but I don't really know if I'm going to sign it. And then she says, if he doesn't come back in the time that he told me, I'm definitely not going to sign it. This little vindictive mouse. Like, they are both the biggest clowns. And so we see them pack up, and Madeleine is clearly like pissy about it. And she's like, when are you going to come back? And he's like, in a week or two. And she's like, which one is it? A week or two? And he's like, a week, babe, a week. And I'm just like, you're such a little, you know what I was going to say. Like, grow some balls. You need a job. You have no money. You're not going to get a job magically in a week. That's literally his plan. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go back and find myself a job and then I'll come back. In this job market, you'll probably find one maybe in a month. But don't set yourself up promising things to Missy Fu, who's going to jump you. And so their final scene is of them trying to make like this hand mold. And it is as chaotic and messy as you would imagine it to be. And Luke is trying to make this like beautiful metaphor out of it. And it's a reach. It is a mess. And so it ends with Madeleine in the apartment by herself. The mold came out okay, but she like still left all the gummy stuff on it. She put it by her desk and she's like, if he doesn't come in the time that he promised me, I'm going to throw it at him. And then she does one of her evil laughs. And I've told you guys that I really do think these two will get married because they're equally psychotic and they tolerate their ish. So I think that they'll end up getting married. And if they do divorce, she's still going to find a way to take everything. That's my theory. Let's move on to the final couple, Adriano and Alex. Oh my God. I'm surprised, honestly, that they made it to this very end because talk about a train wreck. Shout out to Boba Belly. We're riding this train wreck. I can't wait to see her review on this because what? So we pick up at the boat trip from hell where she broke up with him and she's sobbing and he's still trying to sweet talk her. He's, adjusting her towel, holding her hand, trying to like give her the eyes, and she's just full Eeyore. I imagine that these confessionals are filmed a few weeks after they're done taping the show. He's in this confessional being like, I wasn't really serious when I suggested the threesome with her cousin. I was kidding. She's not even my type. And I'm like, sir, when you said it the first time, it didn't go well. Why would you repeat it? He's stunned that this was what caused the breakup. And I'm like, sir, there were a lot of things that went wrong. a lot more led to this breakup. Alex tells him, she's like, honestly, I've been pretending to be happy. Every time I talk to my family, I'm telling them, oh, it's amazing. All because I just wanted a family and marriage and kids. But this ain't it. And he's like, she's like, I've been shrinking myself to fit in with you, to make this work. And I'm like, you know what? I'm glad you said that out loud. I hope that you internalize it, because that's what you've been doing. You've been trying to shapeshift and it just doesn't fit you. And that's okay. Everything she says she wants, she's been contradicting with her actions. So I think that this was good of her to have this realization. And so Adriano is shook because he's like, the last few times I've been the one that's broken us up. And obviously they've gotten back together because he's done it to manipulate her into a threesome, right? Or he does it to get a break to sleep with someone else, and it technically isn't cheating. So he's like, when I break up, it isn't serious, but if she's broken up with me, it's different. It feels different. And I'm like, it's almost like breakups are meant to be final. And so as she walks off, you can see him seated on the boat, just in the dark, just pensive. And we see her on the boardwalk and she's just sobbing to the producers. And I felt so bad because heartbreak, that pain is, oof. I've been calling Alex a dummy all season because she has been, but I don't wish pain on anyone. And hearing her cry was hard, but this is also a lesson that sometimes we cause our own heartbreak, because she walked through a parade of red flags before getting to this moment, you know? And I'm not saying that you have to live your life like with walls up, but you do have to be cautious. And if you are outwardly saying that something doesn't align with what you want, then don't keep pushing through that door. Find the door that's compatible with you. You know what I mean? It's a tough lesson, but she was going to learn it at one point or another with this guy, because they didn't mesh. So what I want for her is to go back home and find you a nice Christian man, because that is what you've said you wanted, okay? And so she was leaving back to America the next day, and so we see her pack up. He finds an excuse to go to her apartment because she left things at his place. And on his way there, he's like, I feel like this can be fixed. So, and again, this man doesn't really take no for an answer, can't really take cues, doesn't respect boundaries. Like, all of the signs are there, right? But he shows up, and Alex is back to being Boo Boo the Fool in her confessional, because she's like, I really wanted this to work. I mean, a Black and Italian wedding? Oh my God. And I'm like, you are living in a fantasy world with a man that literally does not respect you. Like, what doesn't click yet? And so here he is in front of her being extra soft, and he's like, I'm gonna change for you. And I was very proud of her in this moment. She was like, you're always on your best behavior when you feel me pulling away, and then you go back to your same antics when you know you have me. She gagged him with that one, okay? And he's like, well, I just need patience and help. And let me tell you something, Adriano. She's been more patient than you deserve. As for help, yes, get help, but from a professional. Women are not rehab centers. So he does end up taking her to the train station so that she can start her journey back home. And, you know, they're bantering. They have good chemistry, but it's not enough to make a relationship or a marriage. It was just a hookup that lasted way too long. And that was the end. I was hoping that they would do one of those things where they're like, check in with them a year later. This is how this couple is. But I guess we'll have to check their Instagrams to find out. Let me know what you guys thought about this last episode. What did you guys think about the things that Kyle said to Annie? What did you think about her reaction? What would you have said in that situation? What are your thoughts on the Shawn and Alliya thing, especially post-surgery consultation? Let me know what you thought about how Alex and Adriano and Madeleine and Luke left things off. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.